Hey everyone, in today's episode, I talked to Nancy's title. She's an international business consultant and intellectual property law specialist. We talked about the importance of having the right structure when you're starting your business and some common mistakes that people make as entrepreneurs as they're starting a new business. We also dive into the topic of intellectual property. We talked about different forms of it, like trademark, copyrights, and patents. And Nancy also has a new book coming out later this year called The Art of Analogies in Business, which has some great information for you. I'm super excited for you to dive into this episode. I'm also going to link a quiz for you to take that talks about your business strength. I would love for you to take the time to take this quiz. It will give you some good information on some of the strengths and weaknesses that you can have as a business owner. So, we'd love for you to dive into that and let's listen to this amazing episode with Nancy's title. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, and today I have Nancy's title with me. She is an international business consultant and intellectual property law specialist, specializing in AI and big data. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you very much, Nata. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm very excited that we can, correspond here and converse about these topics. And hopefully this knowledge will help other people that are starting business or in business as well.
Yes, I'm very excited. I think it's something that we don't hear being explained very often. Like we hear about the importance of it, but we really don't dive into what that means. So I'm excited to talk about all of that with you. So tell us a little bit about just your current state. Like, what do you do now? Where are you working? What are your current efforts? And then I want you to backtrack for us a little bit into how did you get to the position that you're at today?
Perfect. Yes. So I'm an international business consultant and intellectual property law specialist in AI, robots, and big data. So there's sort of two capacities here that I do, which is help people set up businesses and structure them correctly from day one, from a business idea. Or if you have an existing business, I'll come in and help rescue that business as well. The other side, which is really interesting, is I bring the legal aspects as well. I'm a law specialist at the moment. I'm working to get qualified, but I do have 3 masters in law sectors, such as international business law. I have an MBA in global law, and I've got just currently actually my last leg of the international intellectual property law. So I help also businesses understand the intellectual property law aspect of their business. I am now going into AI with how you can protect yourself when you are using certain intellectual property in the AI scope.
Where did you start though your career? Because I know it didn't start there. So what did you do before you had all these specialties in these specific areas?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I had a lemonade stand when I was 7. So I think that's where it triggered it. But I've had about 4 or 5 businesses. I focus just on the business mission now, but I've had a PR company for 18 years. I had a newspaper, an online global community, and they've all been sold off now. It just sort of, I'm one of these flow people. So if you have an idea, do a structure and build it up. And just remember not to become too attached to it, that it's there to help other people, and then you need to exit it. So especially with the law route now, I did go more into law starting in 2018. I realized from having done all these businesses, I accumulated all this wealth of knowledge and accreditation through my degrees. So I just thought, okay, I'll set up the business mission and use the knowledge that I had to help other people.
So can you explain a little bit why having that right structure is crucial when starting a business, and what common mistakes do you see with new entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having the right business structure is like building a house with foundations, okay? It really impacts everything from how you run daily operations to how much you incorporate in your business from taxes and money. I think a lot of business owners, they have an idea and they think, oh, I'm going to run and register it. And unfortunately, it's not a business, it's still an idea. So it's the common mistake that I do always see people is picking this wrong business entity, such as a sole proprietor instead of an LLC, or even saying like, oh, let's just go register a company when you don't have a company yet and just a business idea. There's got to be a certain amount of money you make before you register that business. So when you start a business, please don't register it right away. It's still in idea stage. And then when it starts to generate revenue and you're on your feet and it's running, then you can go look at sole proprietor or limited liability setup. The other mistake that people start when they start a business is not having clear agreements and legal contracts as well. And then they wonder, well, why doesn't that person work correctly with me? But you needed to be the person to guide them. Also, you go into a business partnership and you say, oh, I like this person, they're amazing, and we have great synergy. But that is being really superficial. You need to put structure into that business organization as well, and that agreement that you put together. And I also think, like, coming back to the structure part, again, a lot of people jump in without doing a business plan or some sort of blueprint before starting a business.
Yeah, even that organization hierarchy is important. Like, what kinds of employees are you going to have? What is going to be your role in the company? And as you add more people, so we can, slowly fill out the roles that are going to be needed in the company. People forget about these things, and especially when you're starting your company on your own and you're doing everything in the beginning. You forget to take the time to just set the structure for when the company does grow, what is going to look like. So I love that. And I also like that you talked about starting to make some money first. Make sure you do have a valid idea before you register your business, because as far as I understand, making sure that you can't just be on a loss all the time every year when you're reporting your income, because then you're going to be considered a hobby and not an actual business. So really taking the time to make some money first and have a good structure to your business to then start registering and doing things the right way. So I love that.
Absolutely. And again, like, people, it's really important to have passion to start a business, but you also have to have a business mindset. You can be the greatest chef in the world or the greatest photographer in the world, but if you don't know how to structure the business, it will collapse and your passion will not keep you afloat. So again, if you are a very creative person, because I know, we discussed that you're coming from a creative background here and you tap into a lot of creative business owners, that they need to really work with somebody who is a little bit more practical. So the practicality will guide them correctly. And once they put the structure in, they can get back to doing what they love to do, which is the creative side, but without the structure, as like a canvas, without the wood around it and the canvas on it, they're got nothing to paint on.
Yeah, I think that's a huge issue in the creative entrepreneur arena. I hear often people say, "Oh, I'm just a creative. Like, I don't like to look at the numbers. Like, I don't know anything about business." And I hear that very often, and it always bothered me because I'm a very business mindset kind of person. And I came into this creative world with a very clear and structured goal of how I was going to set up my company and how I was going to make money. And, again, that's why I do coaching today, because I do see there's a gap in there and people come in with all this passion and wanting to do the thing that they want to do, but forget about everything else that they need. And that's why we have such a high percentage of businesses that fail in their first, 1 to 2 years, because people are not taking the time to pay attention to the business structure they need to have to be successful. So thanks for bringing attention to that again. Let's talk a little bit about intellectual property. The first thing I want to talk about is, what is that? What kind of falls into that umbrella of intellectual property or IP? Because I think we hear often enough, but maybe in a creative world or even in the businesses that you work with, what does that mean? What part of what they provide to their client is considered intellectual property?
Yeah, so I like to explain the definition of intellectual property first for any of the viewers out there that are not sure what that means. Because, a lot of people, when I say I'm in intellectual property, they're like, how many houses have you sold? so, and are they smart? And I'm like, no, okay. So intellectual is divided by two words. So the intellectual, which is the creative idea in your mind, it's no good just keeping it in your mind. You've got to put it on a piece of property. So you own the creative aspect and then it goes on to a property. So we look at a trademark, for example, it's a word, but it also then can be a logo and then it's designed. So that's the platform it's designed on. Copyright is another IP, which is very, famous or known in the creative world. When you design something like a picture or you take a photo, or you draw something or you write something, but then it's on a piece of property that holds that creative aspect. There's also patents as well, which is an invention. You've got trade secrets, which categorize into the intellectual property, which is, where you don't necessarily register it, but you keep it in a document that you get people to sign that they won't share that. There's also geographic location and cultural IP as well. So, there was a case where Kim Kardashian wanted to use kimono for her clothing line. However, the Japanese government and historic, heritage sites said, no, you can't use that because that's a traditional outfit in our culture. So she wasn't able to use that. So that's just sort of a little bit understanding of IP. Now, intellectual property management is very important because it creates this protection for your innovation and your brand. For startups, securing IP really early prevents others from copying those ideas and also saves from really lengthy legal battles. So the first thing in conducting an IP that needs protection is filing your trademark or filing your copyright. Now, in the UK, we don't have a copyright registration situation as such, but in America, you can go to the Copyright Office. Using confidential agreements, again, I see this so many times. I have a case of a lady who went to a photographer to get a picture done of her family, and then she didn't relinquish the rights. He didn't give her the IP of that photo, and she wanted to use it on the book. And he said, no, I'm not going to relinquish it. I want the royalties. So it's really important when you are working with people in the creative world that you have a very tight intellectual property clause in it. And don't get excited again. Oh, I really like this person. You've got to think of the necessity of the legal side of it. And that's what I help clients with a lot is in the creative part. A lot of authors as well, they write books and they go to publishers and they're just, I just want to get published. But then they relinquish the rights of their IP, and maybe they sell off their copyright and license so that they can license it for movies or videos, and in the end they're left with nothing. So it's really important that you plan and make sure you secure your IP in any industry, whether creative or business, from the very beginning.
I like that. So, what are the first steps that new startups should take to secure their IP?
Yeah. So the first thing, depending on what, anywhere, I mean, you can trademark your name or a brand. So if you are, let's say, a podcaster and you decide, okay, my podcast name is ABC, you can go and trademark that. If you're an artist, Taylor Swift has trademarked everything under the sun. She's trademark queen. So she's trademarked the Eras tour. She's trademarked logos. She's trademarked taglines, all those things. So your trademark, really, really important before you go out there. Then there's the copyright. Now in the UK, whatever you do, you need to document it, and immediately that's your copyright. But you can also register it in the US at the Copyright Office, and that covers that. And if you are, deciding on a patent, okay, so you decide, okay, I'm going to come up with a new idea of a record player or something like that, you would then create that, or even a camera or some sort that is very different on the market. You would patent that. So those are the most important thing. There is also industrial design patent. So the shape of something, like, the shape of your microphone, if no one else has got it, then you could patent that as an industrial design patent.
Very good. So I think the most common ones for probably the audience that listens to our podcast will be some of the trademarking situations and then some of the copywriting as well. So is that something that is enough just to have it in your contract when it comes to the copywriting? I know trademarking, it's a whole other story. I've gone through that process myself. I'm going through it right now. So, it takes some time, it takes some money, and it has to be done properly in order to go through. It's not easy to trademark. Just anything that you can think of. It has to be specific to your business and all that. So just talk to us a little bit about those two, maybe a little bit more.
Yes, there is an expense to it, but it's in hindsight, it's cheaper than being infringed. So,
Yeah.
when you're starting a business, you should invest in things that will give you a return on the investment. Okay. When you say, well, trademark's expensive, but then, it's an asset. So that trademark you can gift to people. And, when you do sell your business, there is a reassurance that nobody can take your name, and, you have to rebrand it or redesign it, or you lose your audience, because if somebody else has a similar name to yours that is trademarked, then they can sue you for a lot of money, and you have to rip down everything, and then you lose your audience because they don't know where you've gone. So it's really important to, when you step into any business, I would say the first three things is your legal contracts, your business plan, and securing your IP before you go public with anything. And it's not, I guess if you're doing your trademark by yourself, which, if you don't have the expertise to do that, please don't do it, because 90% of my clients come back to me with trademarks that are wrong. And because
Yeah.
they don't have the knowledge about it, and then they have to reapply, and that becomes expensive. So work with somebody who is knowledgeable on trademark or IP, and they will guide you. In the UK, it is very easy, actually. There is a lengthy process. Don't get me wrong, that you have to be patient. But in the States, it's about a 2-year wait, and that's a really long time because they are a little bit backlogged. But I would say that these are the things you invest in, which will give you that return investment. Don't go buy a Ferrari and an office space, because that's not going to give you a return on investment. These things are crucial. Like building a house, you will pay the best concrete so the house doesn't fall down or slip down.
And we know you love some good analogies. We'll talk about that later. So, with your focus on startups, what key areas do you believe that require the most attention for a new business owner to ensure their long-term success?
Yeah. So number one is business planning. If I got a pound or a dollar for every person that didn't do a business plan, I would be a billionaire. It's just incredible how many people just jump, you know, into something without planning. And, I'll go to the analogy, but when you have a baby, you need 9 months in the womb. When you decide I'm going to build a house, you'll go to an architect and get a blueprint. When you decide I'm going to get a plant, like one thing I do with all my clients actually when they start a business plan with me is I tell them, go down to the plant shop and get a pot, soil, and a seed. And as we're doing the business plan, I want you to water that every time you're doing something in the business plan. And you will see that the plant has a better opportunity of succeeding as a business. Bamboo actually lives underground for about 8 years and then shoots out and is really strong. It can hold any kind of wind. So I would say the first thing, no matter what. Now, I do like to do lengthy business plans, because another analogy is, do you go out into the ocean in a raft or do you go out in a yacht? Chances are, if a storm hits, you have a better opportunity with the yacht than the raft. So I'm old school. I do the old fashioned solid business plan with the financials and everything else in it, and intellectual property in it. So it's a little bit lengthier. But I just feel that the success rate on the lengthier business plan has worked for myself and for my clients. Some people like to do the shorter business plans, and that's okay, but I just think there's not enough depth to that. So I think business planning is number one. Number two is securing your IP, which is very important. No matter what you do, go get that trademark, go get copyright. If you need a patent, secure that. Financial management. Again, we witnessed a lot through COVID how many people started, had a business before, then COVID hit, and they couldn't even survive the business for 6 months because they ran out of money. When you decide to start a business, it's like deciding to have a child. So you must be prepared. Okay, there's going to be diapers, there's going to be food. I need to clothe this child. It's going to eventually go to school. I need a little kitty, and I need to put money away to do that. Because if you don't, you will sail in the middle of the ocean and go, crap, I'm going to sink now because I've got no money left. I cannot buy any petrol for my speedboat. I can't go anywhere and I am stuck. And a lot of my clients came to me during that COVID part because they ran out of money. And then they took bounce back loans, which was suffering the economy ourselves because it was coming out of taxpayers' money. So make sure, and again, in my business plan course, I do a financial spreadsheet for 4 weeks. And it's not about seeing what goes in and what comes out, but the difference. You see, a lot of people do, okay, I'll spend on that. I'm going to buy that, but they don't see the difference, what's coming and going in that sense. So doing and keeping a real close eye on your finances, like every day, even if you're not making any money, look at your bank account every single day, because that really will teach you about business. Then there's also the legals. So I would really ensure people set up legal binding websites, legal contracts for clients. Don't do anything verbal. There's also, developing a good marketing strategy and a strong brand strategy and the use of technology. Now we're going into AI. So you really need to understand how to use AI in a sustainable way and accountable way. You can't say, well, I didn't know. You need to find out about that.
Hey there, are you a creative professional looking to elevate your business and artistic vision? Discover the transformative power of personalized coaching tailored specifically for creatives like you. During the sessions, I dive into the unique challenges and goals for your specific business, especially as a creative entrepreneur. That's very important because what you do, it is special and it is different than everybody else. You're going to break through some mental barriers and cultivate a mindset that really nurtures the creativity and resilience of your business. We're going to enable you to thrive in both your personal and professional life. That is my goal for you. If you're ready to embark in an amazing journey of one-on-one coaching with me, hop over to accidentalceo.co and let's get you to be the CEO that you're meant to be. What are some of the basic components of a solid business plan that people should have?
Well, first of all, what it is. Remember, you're not your business. And this is really hard for those freelancers, people who are photographers or artists or actors or singers or, anybody really, is they think they're the business, but they're not. So if we take, because I know your audience is really creative. So if we take somebody who's an artist, they are an artist when they step into the role of their artistic talent. But at the end of the day, when they come out, they are somebody's daughter, son, mother, child, and they're not the artist. So when you are doing a business plan, you're writing the business plan as if it's your child. And you're talking about this other vessel. And so in a business plan, that is really good because it separates you from understanding you're one entity and the business is another entity. So things like that. Also understanding your competitors, not spending too much time on that, but understanding I'm not a big fan of market research. Just believe what you're doing, have a really good marketing tactic and it will work. You don't need to go out and ask other people's opinion because 99% of the time they're going to tell you, oh, don't do it because they don't know how to do it themselves. So just be confident in what you're doing and it will work. But it's a lengthy process. There's also the SWOT analysis, really, really important. So SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. So what are the threats? So I can imagine the people in COVID, they didn't do a SWOT because they weren't prepared for the global downfall. Like if a global downfall comes, how will you sail through that? And the companies that did, you know that they did a SWOT analysis. So those are really the key. There's much more than that. There's obviously the mini sections of advertising, branding, and a lot of people
Right.
don't understand the difference between PR, marketing, branding, sales. And so I do teach them the difference and understanding of that. So those are the main, I think, and then your financials.
How do you help businesses develop a strong brand, and why is brand identity so crucial in today's market?
Absolutely. So I think with a brand, you learn from your business the core values, the mission, the target audience. But there's a difference between branding and a brand. So the brand is the personality of the business. Okay, so if we ask your viewers, what does your business smell like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? And it's very interesting because when I ask clients that, they are speechless. But when I say to them, if they have a child, I say, what does your child smell like? She smells like bubble gum. Okay. What does your child sound like? Well, she screams all day. She's happy. And it's very easy. But when I ask them about their business, they really are stuck on their words. So brand is the personality. It's what it's what people are seeing your business like. Now, the branding is the design part. Okay, it's the aesthetic part. It's how beautiful it will look, how the logo will look, the design. So a brand strategy really teaches you the difference between brand and branding. And it's very important because it then creates a consistent brand message, a visual identity that resonates with your audience. You need to speak to this audience. So it's really important to understand the target audience. When I ask some of the clients, what's your target audience? Well, everybody. Okay. It's not everybody because you cannot speak to an 80-year-old woman the same to speak to a 16-year-old teenager. So you need to narrow that down to really understand. And then when you are writing content, your brand is speaking to these individuals in a way. So it's better to have a smaller audience, I think, like maybe 18 to 24, 35 to 40, 50 to 60, 80 to 100, and then you speak the tone to those audiences. So I think branding and brand identity is the personality of the business, and it's very important because it will differentiate your business from other competitors. It builds customers' loyalty and it develops this trust. So in this crowded market we are in today, this really strong brand will significantly impact your business's success.
Yeah, because working with the wrong client costs you a lot of time and money. So you want to make sure that your message is right, that your brand is on point, so you can be communicating to the right people. Yeah, so you have a book coming out, The Art of Analogies in Business, and it really aims kind of to simplify business concept from what we talked about before. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek into maybe just a couple of analogies that you're going to be talking about in the book?
Absolutely. So I wrote this book because I found a lot of business books very technical. And I found that it was really hard for people to read, and especially sort of my audience. I mean, it is really 18 to 24, but you can also understand if you're an existing business owner and you started this business and you're sort of stuck now, you can use this business as a tool to understand it. So two of my favorite analogies. The first one is starting a business is like having a baby. Okay. If you're not ready to have a baby, go nanny somebody else's business, work 9 to 5, get your salary, and go home. Okay. That's the nannying job. But if you say to yourself, look, I am ready to have a child, so be prepared that the child takes 9 months in the womb. So that is your structure time. to do the business plan, to get the birth certificate, the trademark, to do the marketing, the brand strategy. So when the baby comes out, this is where I find it quite humorous. A lot of people think this baby can go to work and make the money. You see, in month one, my baby is going to go make me £1 million. Good Lord, this baby can't even walk yet. And don't put that pressure. So, in theory, the first 2 years is all about guiding this business to put the right structure so the baby can stand. So, possibly in year 2 or 3, the baby will stand, but it will fall. So, that's your revenue thing. So, you make a little revenue, and then you might not make any revenue, and then you make revenue. But by year 4 or 5, the baby is now in nursery. And this is where you've got key players come in. So you've got somebody to help you with your marketing, you've got somebody to help you with the branding, because you have had that time for structure. Now, there are some cases where there are very wealthy people out there and they get a night nurse and they get, this private chef, but logistically, it's not everybody's like that. And also you should spend that time to do that. Now, as the baby grows, eventually the baby can get a job and start making that money back. And then finally, if you have put enough effort, you put the baby in the right place, it's now a child, it's running, it's a teenager, you must exit it. It's not like you're leaving the child, but the child will go off and get married, you'll go off to university, and you've done your task. So I really like to use that analogy in the book. The other one also is about building a house. So you wouldn't run out and get a stove and a kitchen door and a window. You would do the blueprint first. And that's what a lot of people do. They run out, they get a website, they get social media, they get this and that. And then they wonder, where are these people coming from? Why are they not finding me? How do I get clients? But the higher you build the house, someone from the distance is going, there's something new going on there. So I say to my clients, you don't need to go out and find clients. You just need to work on the structure within yourself. A bee does not land on a shaky flower or a flower without structure. The bee needs the pollen and the flower has the pollen. So it's a really, a spider web. I wrote about a spider web strategy. A spider just goes and spins a web. Then he goes off to the beach. He comes back and all the insects are in his web. So we'll always come down to structure.
Yeah, I like that. And I talk about with my clients a lot about this concept of, you dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So, I tell them, take that same concept when you're building your structure for your business. Like, you don't want to build a structure for the 5 clients that you have right now. You want to build a structure to accommodate the 100, 200, 1,000 clients that you want to have in a few years. So you want to build a structure robust and strong and steady enough to take care of a high volume of clients, but still delivering good quality service and product. So, that time that you spend in the structure of your businesses, the processes and everything, it's so important, so crucial to make sure that you're successful whenever you are having those clients knocking on your door.
Exactly. And I think also get really silent as well. It's not about screaming, here I am, da 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 da, but it's just getting silent, because the more you're in your space and you can get structure, you become the magnet. You see, so you become the magnet. Yes, you can talk about what you're doing, but people will find you. Those who can hear you and see you will find you. So again, just, there's no rush. A lot of people like, why am I not making any sales? But you set up a business that you love, and everything else will follow after that.
So let's talk about your background a little bit. So how have your extensive education in international business law and intellectual property influenced your approach to the business consultancy?
Yeah, so I think my education has really given me a deeper understanding of the legal and side of business complexities. So I do have 3 master's degree in law associated fields, and I do also continue to take courses. I mean, I just did a course to up. The thing is, we're in a weird world right now where everything is moving very fast. So, I did a course in metaverse. I continue to do courses in AI. I think, especially as I continue to take these courses, this knowledge, it really helps me advise my clients on protecting their assets, dealing with international laws and mitigating those risks. It also helps on my skills, allowing me to, come up with those solutions that are legally sound and also aligned with business goals. So, like I said, my last degree was IP. So my focus on IP ensures that clients can safeguard their innovation, which is really important in this very fast evolving fields of AI and big data that we are in.
Yeah, that's it's such a there's so much coming out so fast right now. So you work with a diverse range of clients internationally. What unique challenges do you face in, or maybe what do you think is a common thing that no matter what country people are from, you see it happening over and over again and you have to advise your clients on?
It's interesting because when I do have clients that want to set up in another country, they think that that country is going to be like their country. I did economics at Harvard, and it was really interesting because McDonald's tried to open in the UK when they first opened up in the UK. And they really had a hard time because I'm from Canada and also in America. We're very overly friendly when you go into a shop. Hi, how are you today? But in the UK, it's not as, I mean, they're lovely. I'm not saying they're lovely, but, it's a little bit toned down in a more conservative approach. So when they did open McDonald's and everyone was like, hi, how are you? It didn't really pan out with the English market that well. So I think international clients, they often face this challenge of a different environment and cultural difference and market dynamics. So I do tailor strategies by, conducting these sort of regions and explaining it to them. I had another lady who was in Iran who wanted to open a health thing in the UK. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to go away and understand the population in the UK and what the growth opportunity and the size opportunity. She goes, oh, I didn't think about that. And I was like, well, you need to know what's going on here. You need to maybe even come here and live for a year and see what it's about. But for instance, in IP, in intellectual property, that is based by jurisdiction again. So it's not, we don't have an international intellectual property situation. You have to have a trademark for each different country individually. A marketing strategy that works in the UK might need a lot of adjustments for the Asian market. Okay. And then, the IP protection in each of these regions. So you really need to give a personal approach that is respectful to those countries.
Yeah, a lot of differences to consider when you're stepping outside of your country that people forget about. I heard a similar story about Walmart trying to establish themselves in Germany, and they ran into the same issue. Like people just didn't like the greeting at the door, and all the cultural things that make what it is here. It didn't pan out over there. So
Absolutely.
definitely
And
need to do your market research.
it's sometimes like Marks and Spencer went to Canada and didn't do very good. So it's just really understanding before you enter that market of starting a business. And I recently did a podcast with Sally at Global Citizens, and she's on LinkedIn if you look up global citizenship or citizens. And she talks about that, and she helps people set up businesses in other countries, which is really helpful. But yeah, it's just, I would suggest go to that country and live there for a year, get the logistics of it before you set up a company. Also, very corrupt countries, you will have a lot of problems with the government, and don't think that you don't have to pay them off or things like that. So yeah, you just have to be really careful and do a business plan for that country before you set sail over there.
Yeah, a lot of different things to consider. Based on your years of experience, what is the single most important piece of advice you give to someone just starting their business today?
Oh, single, only one. God, where do I start?
It's fine. You can give them
Okay, I'll
more.
give
It's
two.
okay.
I will give two, but First of all is structure. That's number one. Please do a business plan no matter what when you start from the very onset. Then there is the adaptability of it. The business world is constantly changing. You must embrace change, especially with this rapid technology advancements we're in. You've got to be open to change. You've got to be open to learning. You've got to adapt your strategies. Like, a business plan is never set in stone. You need to revisit that. I revisit it every 6 months. Even my business plan, I revisit 6 months. You need to stay resilient. You need to be ready to pivot when necessary, and always, always stay focused on your cores and values and mission. Don't change that, in that sense. Know, your genuine, authentic transparency. But being adaptable will help you deal with those challenges and seize those new opportunities that come your way in business.
Yeah, I think change is the only constant, right? So it's going to happen no matter what. I had a conversation with some other entrepreneurs this past week, and we were talking about change. And I was telling them I love change. I believe in change. I think is necessary. And people sometimes are afraid to make changes in their business because they think they're going to look weak, or they're going to look like they don't know what they're doing. And in my mind, if you are smart and adaptable and you want to be resilient, you have to be changing, you have to be adapting, and making sure that you're doing what's best as things change, as time changes, as technology changes. So, we need to stop looking at change as something bad and embrace it, and understand how that can help our business stay fit and stay healthy, as things evolve in the world around us too.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at nature, which is a really good example, like a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. I use these analogies, but a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. And if you think of yourself, like, you're not wearing the same shoes that you wore when you were 5 years old. I mean, maybe your toe might fit in it, but you're definitely not. But yeah, it's really exciting. Like, I think a lot of people are just stuck in their comfort zone sometimes, and that's not where you're going to grow. And if you are an entrepreneur or you're a business person, and, especially creative people, they're always creating something new, diverse, and changing. But if you don't evolve, you will get left behind in a way as well, because people will find the change and people will adapt to the change. I mean, I'm at the moment changing my website. I'm updating it with other things. I've brought more AI in because that's where we're going. So I'm very excited about this thing. So rather than fear it, because fear is an illusion, it's just a mindset. Danger is real, but just embrace that and go, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm really excited about it.
100% agree. So, Nancy, where can people find you if they want to work with you and just learn more about all these amazing things that you have to teach?
Thank you. Well, you can go to our website, which is www.thebusinessmission.com. We have our courses on there if you are interested in doing a business plan. My book is listed in the shop there as well. We're on LinkedIn, our business page, and then my personal page. I do also write content. I've got a Facebook author page as well. And then I've got my Facebook private personal page, which I add things. And we've got also a Facebook page for our business. We've got a newsletter. We send out information on the newsletter. I have a link, a Linktree link. I think we will add to this, and you can go there, and it's all listed in one platform there.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure we'll link everything for you guys so you can go and learn even more from Nancy, because she has lots and lots of great information for you. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think it's very important points that we need to be considering as business owners and entrepreneurs, that we sometimes just brush through it because we're so busy doing the things that we need to be doing, that we forget that all this planning is very important. So thank you for sharing all this wisdom with us.
And thank you very much for having me on your show as well. I've really enjoyed speaking with you and conversing with you as well.
Perfect. Thank you guys for listening to us, and we will see you next week in another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, Every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.